Welcome to this edition of Daily World TV. I'm Ajit Chak. I'm your host of the day, and sitting with me is Korff, who's our expert for the day. We'll be looking to Cal for his comments on certain issues. Now, the first thing we would like to talk about today is the liquor tragedy which has struck Chandigarh. This is a different liquor tragedy, Cal. Normally when a liquor tragedy takes place, you have what's called a hooch tragedy or a arak tragedy or a toddy tragedy, where you have various forms of spurious liquor, normally methyl alcohol, which is industrial alcohol, and people consume this because they're poor and they can't afford the actual stuff which is available in a shop, the branded stuff. And for sometimes they get a safe supply and then somebody gives them industrial alcohol instead of the normal alcohol that they consume. And then people go blind and people die and people hemorrhage and whatever, and that's the normal liquor tragedy. But this liquor tragedy comes in the wake of a Supreme Court order. Now the Supreme Court order specifically says that if you have a bar or a vend or a licensed shop or anything, even a hotel, which is half a kilometer away from a national or state highway, it has to shut down. Now the nature and spirit of this law is very simple. The Supreme Court does not want people to drink and drive, because drinking and driving don't mix. Right. And if somebody drinks and drives on the highway, they're bound to have an accident, overspeeding, whatever. And there have been many such cases. Now the problem with Chandigarh is that most of its main roads are designated as state highways. So if you have a shopping complex, and most of the shopping complexes are within 500 meters of the road. Right. So if you have a shopping complex which is given a license to, where somebody is given a license to run a pub or a restaurant or a bar or even a liquor vend, they've had to close down. Now the liquor tragedy of Chandigarh is that thousands of people have lost their jobs. Unfortunately, this includes even five-star hotels, prominent five-star hotels. I don't want to take their names, but some prominent five-star hotels that are situated on the main road have actually had to close down their bars. Now, how can you have a five-star hotel without a bar? That's surprising. Now, what is your take on this?
Well, as a foreigner living here and having spent 10 years in Europe where alcohol is part of the culture, I remember having breakfast with German families. They're having beer with their eggs and sausage in the morning. And kids at age 16 can drink legally in many of the countries. I must say that...
At age 16?
At age 16.
Yeah, here I think it's 25.
25?
Yeah, if you're younger than 25, no bar, no this thing can serve you liquor.
Well, I must say that in my observation of Indian culture, it seems that alcohol is not being treated in a way that's healthy, or I've noticed a lot of Indians don't seem to be able to handle their alcohol. You've got whiskey, where people like me prefer wine and the finer spirits. So it's very British. Even though the British left, you guys could have done something else, but it's whiskey, whiskey, whiskey. So the law to me has not been thought through, because exactly what you mentioned, the point of a five-star hotel, they're going to have a bar. They should have a bar. There's nothing wrong with that. But what do? Do you penalize them because they happen to be located decades before this law was passed? So it seems to me that the law was not thought out clearly as far as how it would impact people. And that is wrong, because courts, especially Supreme Court, should think better than anybody that that's one of their functions. And then there's the issue of how many people go to a five-star hotel, get drunk, and then get back on the road. They don't. A truck stop's one thing, but I'll point out a very major cultural difference, and even I was surprised. When I lived in the United States, I took a trip to Europe doing some productions for Fox. And we were in Austria, my mother and I. And we saw McDonald's. It was hot, it was summer. We wanted an ice cream, so I pulled through the drive-thru. And I'm shocked to see that you can get beer at the drive-thru. So I asked the lady, because I speak German, I said, I want a beer, can I get it? She said, yeah. Not only did I get a 1 liter beer, and it was delicious, I could drive and drink it. No problem. It's my responsibility to not be stupid about it. So yeah, if I had 2 or 3, 4 beers, police caught me, they'd arrest me. In Europe, the fines are very severe. Now, I found that very liberating, very interesting, because you can't get beer in America at a drive-thru and get on the road and go drink. There are people who are irresponsible. On the other hand, there are people who will just take it home and drink it at home. There are others who can have a beer and they're fine. So what I see is an extreme reaction in India to the whole alcohol thing. It's all or nothing, like the clubbing scene. Who the hell would think to close a club at midnight? That's not going to help you with the youth. It reduces revenues of the exchequer because it's a couple hours less that the city's earning money on the high taxes of the alcohol and the food served in the clubs. So again, it strikes me as yet another law that in an ideal world it does not exist, it works, but in reality it doesn't, because all this stuff was there before the Supreme Court made the law. It seems without any consideration for how it would impact reality.
Well, actually, there are ways to beat the law, unfortunately, Cal. People have loopholes and they slip through these loopholes. For example, if you've got a 5-star hotel or even a hotel that is situated, say, 400 meters from the road, and what they will do is they will simply buy land which is another 300 meters away from the road, say 700 meters away from it, and build an extension and have a bar there.
Good point.
So they can actually go about beating the law by just making an extension and having a bar there.
Good
So,
point.
that's one way of doing it. The other thing is that I'm sure there's going to be some revision petition or whatever, and people will, the Hoteliers Association will definitely take up this issue, because as you rightly mentioned, the truckers having a vend on the highway or a small shop selling beer and whiskey on the highway is one thing, and having something within municipal limits, which has been going on for the last 20, 30, 40 years and has not created a problem of drinking and driving in the city ever. I think that maybe the administration and the judiciary needs to rethink this, and maybe the associations should get together and present their case properly. After all, it's a matter of jobs too.
Yes.
The other option is relocate to another part of the city where you are 600 meters away from the road, and it's business as usual.
Yeah, but imagine the financial impact just to do that. I mean, even if 10% of the businesses say, okay, fine, we'll relocate, that's a lot of money. That hurts the economy.
That
so,
does.
again, what shocks me...
Then the other thing is that you lose a lot of skilled labor, and you may not be able to get them back after a year when you relocate or whatever you do.
Yeah, or even some customers may give up and say, well, I've found somewhere else.
Well, obviously customers will change. Customer loyalty is not the issue here at all.
It's based on sell price.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, it strikes me as a law that wasn't thought through thoroughly, and that's a bit surprising.
But the
because this
biggest
is the-
tragedy of the day is that hundreds and thousands of people in Chandigarh have actually lost their jobs.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.